Mark and I have a history that goes back to the 1990s because we worked together investigating and prosecuting cases. I was the prosecutor, he was the investigator. We both, this was during my time, both as an assistant U.S. attorney in Billings and Missoula, and then my time as U.S. attorney in Billings. So when you look at the challenges facing Yellowstone County today, one of them that's significant is crime, and violent crime in particular. And the history that I have with Mark suggests that he's got a particularly useful perspective, having been an investigator of criminal cases for that whole period of time. You know, you really, when you're in the criminal justice system day to day and you're trying to figure out whether a crime was committed, you're trying to then, if you make that determination, get a case prosecuted, you day to day understand the challenges that the community faces in a way that really no one else understands. And so he brings that perspective to this job. He understands how crime affects victims. He understands the costs that are incurred by the community as a whole, separate and apart from the victims. And that perspective would be really important at a time when violent crime is a significant factor in Yellowstone County. You know, my perspective on Mark is driven based upon those years together where he worked as the investigator and I worked as the prosecutor. And when you're doing the investigation in a criminal case as an agent, as he did for 20 years, you have to be extremely detail-oriented because for a jury to find a defendant guilty in a criminal case, you got to have 12 members of a jury who agree that proof beyond a reasonable doubt exists for every element of the crime that is in the statute. So if you got to prove that somebody did something knowingly, then you better have facts that allow a jury to reach that conclusion. And unlike what you see on TV when these cases start and finish within 1 hour, when you're investigating a white-collar criminal case, it could go for multiple years. It's very exacting work. It requires a lot of detail. It requires a real focus in terms of, you've got to be dogged and focused and detail-oriented. And if you're not, you can't be a successful agent because a prosecutor isn't going to take the case unless it's been put together really well. So Mark and I worked on cases together for years where he would come to me and say, I think this is something that I should investigate. Can you get these subpoenas issued? And we'd be off and running. But what I found was he had that focus and that dedication to making sure that we had the facts marshaled that we were going to need if we were going to convince a jury of proof beyond a reasonable doubt. And so it's those characteristics that are so critical to government service. Whether you're a county commissioner or a legislator, these are not 40-hour-week jobs. These are jobs that you really never turn off your brain. You are constantly trying to think about how you deal with the issues of the day and the issues of yesterday that didn't get fully resolved. You're thinking about what you have to do in terms of what the future is going to hold. And so it requires that inquisitiveness and that attention to detail that I talked about. And what I can say is, in all those years we worked together, those are the characteristics that he brought to that work. And so I am confident that those are the characteristics he would bring to the work of being a county commissioner.
I'm Mark Morse, and I approve of this message.